special picks for us here today, and he says, yes, we do.
Now, his English is pretty limited.
Whether or not he's going to live up to that one, we'll have to see. I did have Cloud Templar there to back me up with the translations, but we might have some interesting stuff shown by SKT.
So backups also here in terms of the bans, because Jungle Pool is getting heavily targeted. Seems like Bang cannot escape the Twitch bans that became commonplace by the second round robin of MSI. Zac has still been permanently banned in the first round. Other champions, like Kennen, for example, have been taken in other rounds. So Lee Sin and Zac already accounted for, but there is always the chance that some of the permaban champions from Series 1 will slip through, and I wonder if Samsung will first pick Kassadin. Sorry, not Kassadin, Syndra, if it's available.
Very well could, but I mean, that's such a dangerous thing because we already know that Faker is more than capable of clapping somebody with that Fizz in the mid lane.
And he has been playing Kassadin also in solo queue, so as you say, the Fizz might be enough of a dissuader there. Even though Cuvée is certainly no Rumble player, has played it one time in competitive, won but didn't look convincing, SKT will still respect ban the Rumble, and probably the most surprising meta riser next to Thresh has been Elise, that has been very heavily contested. Opens up some physical damage laners, but Elise first pick for Ambition.
Yeah, not too surprising. Definitely in his wheelhouse here.
You say that, but interestingly, even though he played it a lot in 2016, he has played no games of Elise in 2017. Now, of course, was the substitute jungler for a lot of spring season. SKT going with what's strong, and the Lulu reputation hasn't gone anywhere, and Lulu Kate is a very powerful duo and the potential flex for Faker in the mid lane as well.
All right, so already setting up that bot lane, perhaps. Like you say, flex options are available here for Faker with that Lulu. LeBlanc's been left available as well, if we wanted to see somebody pick that up. But for now, it's just going to be the bot lane focus here. Samsung goes ahead, picks up the Varus, picks up the Zyra.
And Zyra and Lulu, both of them have fallen away a little bit because of Doran's Shield being introduced and the regen from the harass on the passive, largely allowing you to get through lanes that were much more difficult before. Extra gold for a potion certainly helps as well.
Of course, JJ doesn't give a damn. He has always favored that Zyra, the first one to bring out the support Zyra, if you remember.
And Peanut's going Olaf again, boys.
All right.
Now, he has a Wild Growth and also a Whimsy to allow him to get in the backline. Heavily expected to be the jungle Olaf that largely struggled, we have to say, in the previous series. Somehow I think Peanut will make it work. His Trinity Force Olaf is not to be forgotten from MSI, and I checked the solo queue, still playing Trinity Force Olaf in solo queue.
All right, well, stomping his way through Challenger, but Syndra will be taken off the charts here, not going to give an opportunity for Crown to pick that one up, and LeBlanc will also be taken away.
We're looking into blind pickable solo laners. Now, Syndra's certainly one of them, LeBlanc arguably as well. So far, the Fiora not touched, and both these players known Fiora players, so interesting to see if it will be taken a Victor ban. Despite no one playing Victor.
It's against Crown, so I guess we can kind of forgive it here. But even then, very questionable, as it seems to be shoved out of the meta at the moment.
Orianna seems to be the big blind pickable champion when it comes to mid lane, and of course was SKT's auto pick. Works really well with Olaf as a ball carrier, so might be taken here, and Faker selects it.
It's his most played, so it would make perfect sense. And there we go. The lock-in will come through, which does confirm that Lulu for Wolf at the bottom side of the map.
So now we look to Samsung. It looks like they might go super standard. Talia has been Crown's usual answer to an Orianna. That's not standard. Okay, Cuvé's finding a new carry. Now jumping onto carries, being dragged into the carry battle against Smeb was one of Samsung's big problems against KT Rolster in the semi-final, but Cuvé's found something, and Kled was a big pick over in MSI, and Huni certainly has plenty of practice against it, but it's never been a big pick in career. The only person to pick it was Ixu for a couple of games on Jin Air.
Didn't really work out.
It didn't, but consider this game where, you know, there is a lot of good charge targets. You are happy to get in there because Shen largely will not be grouped with the team. To the first sighting of Kled, the Shen matchup has been one of the better containment Shen matchups, or matchups into Kled where you can get through lane. But interesting to see that the only real curveball has been thrown by Samsung, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some top lane focus to try and get the Kled snowballing, because if you just trade farm with the Shen, the kill pressure will never be there for the Kled.
Yeah, so expect Ambition to go ahead, path up that way with the Elise. There's going to be a decent amount of CC there. Bear Trap on a rope, you know, to try to drag him back through, as well as that Cocoon. So if they can lock somebody up, And things could be coming out rather well here for the side of Samsung if they can just get that Kled rolling out for Cuvée.
Might have been an AR malfunction or a technical problem. We don't have confirmation of that.
There we go.
We're restarting. All right, we're going to start with the top
They
lane.
flashed jungle first, so
You
that was the problem.
can never start with the jungle. Come on, we know how it goes. From the top of the screen down. Ambition, big return for him. Big ask against Peanut here in the jungle. We'll see how practice he is on the Elise after his nuptials. That's a fun word to say.
Yeah. A married man needs to make his wife
The only
proud.
one in the league.
Yeah.
Off the playing side, at least. Fun stuff here. Samsung versus SKT. The hype is not necessary. So much history between these two organizations in recent times. We'll see how SKT, the reigning MSI champions, do, because this could be a fun one.
It really could, so let's go ahead and get things started as we load up onto the Rift for our last match of the night. The marquee, SKT versus Samsung Galaxy. All right, here we go. Already a full-man squad of SKT members working their way down towards the bottom lane. Ruler waiting in the brush.
Gonna lead with the
they'll
trap.
push in now.
Could have led with the trap. Just gonna go with the auto attacks.
All right, there we go. 10 gold lead.
Well, at some point SKT was winning, Achilles.
It's done. Game's over.
Well, we always say that if you give SKT an inch, they'll take it a mile.
See, it's good now. They can FF at 15.
This is also a very microscopic inch. I wonder if you can FF at 15 in pro play. I assume so.
I don't see why you wouldn't be able to.
T1
That's a good
fans
drawing.
in full flow. I mean, they would have had a lot of time to work on these, given that they were watching their charges over in Brazil.
That in the first series took a while.
That's true. It was a good one, though, so can't complain.
Oh, yeah.
And Ruler and Core JJ have the unenviable task of dealing with Bang and Wolf as Bang actually finishes his recall. Okay.
He wants to just get topped up here. Minions just now coming out, so he's not going to miss anything, but
Have you seen that Pulsefire skin in action?
I've used it.
It's so cool that you get the random hats on the recall. You can't get the chroma hats, though, so I don't get the obnoxious pink top hat that I'm so sad about.
That would be nice.
That's praise Caitlyn's skin of choice.
All right, skin team at Riot. We need
Why
some-
can't it remember my chroma?
We
Come
need
on.
this. We need this modified.
Something spaghetti.
Well, Ambition showing some respect with the SKT Elise skin.
By the way, we're at 13 Doran shields for the day.
All right, so you got 3 more to work with.
That's true. That's better be
Well,
a
I mean,
2-0.
if it's a 2-0, you got 3 in this one, 3 in the next, so perhaps it'll work out.
There also could be the first back Doran shield on someone. There's still the chance. But this is going to be the Caitlyn going for the Doran's Blade. So it seems like Bang is going to do his best Sven impression and also refuse to buy Doran's shield. Again, it shouldn't be a surprise that Caitlyn is going Doran's Blade. Of all laners, Caitlyn is the safest, has the longest range, gets the most value out of lifesteal because she's almost never zoned more than 650 units away from minions or champions. But again, speaking to a lot of pro players in Korea and indeed analysts around the world, the general thought is that Doran's shield is at such a power level that you should not even consider Doran's Blade, despite Caitlyn having very obvious use for the extra 7 AD.
Well, Bang was the one that really started the Ninja Tab he built here for the ADCs, so he's...
So you think he'd be all over the Doran shield?
He's re-innovating. He says, you know what, no, Blade's the way to go.
They say I'm a defensive laner. Well, look at this, Doran's Blade!
Woo!
I mean, you got to take the little victories in our new Doran shield meta.
Yeah. This is the most exciting level 1 start we can get now, as far as the items are concerned. But just going to be that general laning coming out so far. Nothing too crazy happening as our junglers just continue pathing.
Quick level 4, and just going to get confirmation that Olaf's on the top side of his jungle.
Cuvée already has that ward down in the river just outside the tri-brush as well, so has that at a 2-way traffic that he can spot out.
Now, Olaf has to be very careful in the early game. Orianna gets pushed in by Talia. Kled pushes in Shen early, so at least had a very long leash to invade and potentially play around lanes. That's why you get the deep vision like you see.
Good ward there.
Peanut had to be a lot more defensive about his pathing because doesn't run flash, so if he gets the jump, if he gets jumped on, sorry, then he's in a lot of trouble.
See those plants. Wolf doesn't have a Doran shield, so he takes quite a bit of damage.
Noob.
What a fool. It's actually going to be double Ignite from our supports as well.
Well, they want to do some killing, Kilios.
I mean, you know, very standard from the Zyra, but Wolf even feeling a bit frisky.
Which is a bit risky against Kled, who, you know, if you're against certain champions, then Exhaust always is a big one. You know, think of Pantheon, Aurelia famously, and
Vayne.
Feels like Kled deserves something along those levels.
Still no Vayne. That's the one thing that has really been eluding us. What's the last time? I don't even know the last time we saw a Vayne.
Well, if you count IM Gyeonggi, Piglet played it.
Yeah, that's true. And then it was really bad.
It was really bad. I think someone will play it this season. I'm willing to go on record and say we'll get one.
All right.
We got our Draven game, so anything's possible.
That's true. We did get that. I mean, we've also had support kills in the past, so anything truly is possible.
I mean, MVP. I mean, when it comes to support pool, we have MVP to either push it through the limits or
that was Wraith.
That was Wraith, but then we had MVP playing support Sion and accidentally not playing support Rengar. So
yeah. That's my funniest one. They accidentally did not play.
Yeah, we really wanted to support Rengar, then we accidentally had to flex to top. Feels bad, man.
And we got the win. Ugh, so bad.
Well, MVP's going to Rift Rivals, so they did something right with all their innovation.
That's true. Be an interesting tournament.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's a cool format.
I would have liked the best of threes, but there's only so much downtime in the season, so you got to take what you can get. Reminds me of my old Gigabyte Stars War League days that I talk about, and 0.01% of the audience watched any of those matches.
I mean, yeah, you can only complain so much when you get a new international tournament popping up, so you gotta be excited for it, especially with the death of the IEMs as well.
Yep. The IEM circuit is dead. Season 2 fans will remember those.
Changes aplenty.
The meta changing too, but not really seeing it. You know, I actually thought there'd be a lot more priority around Rift Herald that, again, it's just still week 1. They still haven't really been figured out as an objective. It's much easier to solo down. We've seen that happen already tonight. So I think we will see increasing attention towards it and thus comps around exploiting it or being defensive around it. But for now, it's largely been just a tertiary objective on day 2 of this league. Baby steps. Peanut's already level 6, so Ambition thinks he's on a successful invade mission. Sure gets the double ward down, but doesn't have that kill pressure onto Olaf he would have a moment ago.
Well, they're going to go ahead and spot him out here in the mid lane. Ghost gets popped by Peanut, will be matched by Crown, so just going to be summoner for summoner.
Take that trade if you're Olaf. He has the summon spell cooldown reduction already on the boots, so even has a timing window there.
Control ward comes down. Peanut spots that out. Make sure that that blue buff is going to be nicely covered here for the side of SKT. Weaver's Wall thrown down. They're going to try to get engaged in onto Faker. Shockwave comes through. Does lock up Ambition. And Faker just going to be jetting his way out of there with his own ghost. Doesn't even have to pop the flash.
He doesn't have to use the flash like you say. It looked like it was a mistake to juke in the direction he did, but it was fine. His Ruler's low.
Yeah, meanwhile, that bot, Ruler going very low. Ignite ticking away, but not going to be enough. One more tick would have had it, but with the heal, Doran Shield as well, contributing. See? That's all about the Doran Shield. Keeps him alive, so no first blood coming out yet, but Peanut, he still has a wraparound. Maybe if he had the Ghost, he'd be able to hound down somebody here on the side of Samsung, but instead, she's going to opt in for the Krugs.
I realize that some fans think we're being ironic about Doran Shield. No, seriously, it's super good. We're not being sarcastic. It really is super strong. But yeah, the little regen there probably was significant. Can't tell without a detailed analysis, so there's no other stuff. Cyrene, please have a look into that. But because they forced out the bot lane, safer for Peanut to be stealing away Raptor camps and boosting up his CS numbers.
It's a nice little takeaway. Meantime, though, lead still very slightly going to be in the hands of Samsung and Cube. Pretty decently in these exchanges. As I say that, Hooney, using that Tiamat, is able to fire back, almost knocks him off of Scarl. But that's going to be the flash forward for the Glitter Lance from Wolf. Really aggressive on the Lulu. Flash away by Crown, so now summonerless in the mid lane.
You don't have many latitudes when Olaf is one of the people chasing and potentially could have hit an axe onto a polymorphed Crown. So Crown, who also said in the same interview where he really downplayed Samsung's chances that he wanted to be a bit of a new man. He said in his profile interview this season he wanted to have a new identity on and off the Rift and whatever's possible. So aggression was never something he did with any reliability. Had some aggressive laners, but largely played pretty passive. And so far he has actually tried to take lane control against Faker and tried to push him in the mid lane.
See what other alterations he makes to his persona.
Maybe he'll change his earrings.
Yeah, I'll switch to the other side.
A new haircut?
Perhaps. It's like, nope, he goes and leaves for another region. He's playing in Vietnam.
Back to Brazil.
No, it's got to be a new one.
He's one of our Brazilian imports.
Hello.
Wing, sadly, is in Challenger now.
Yeah.
The stat I didn't get to use during the semifinal was that, because it was KT versus Samsung, was that when Horn was winning Worlds in 2014 at the World Cup Stadium here in Seoul, Crown was a substitute mid laner in Brazil in the second league, I believe, named Shadow. He hadn't even taken on the name Crown yet. So a lot has changed in the following 2.5 years, and now a lot of people will put him second to Faker in mid lane rankings.
And he's also got a Brazilian import. Ole.
That's true.
On Immortals.
I mean, he's still sort of Korean, but is he an LMS import, Brazilian import?
He's both.
Emperor is also getting up the frequent flyer miles.
That's true. It's been shifting around quite a bit.
It is amazing how some of these players who have been out of the top-level Korean scene have reinvented themselves so many times around the world. Emperor even came back for a moment on Longzhu before heading out again.
It's a very brief moment. Yet again, Faker going
No
forward,
flash,
lands
no
a shockwave
ghost.
this time, and yet Crown's going to be someone on the list. That seismic shove not going to connect, but neither is the Undertow. Crown with his own ghost will make his way out of there safely.
So 3 ghosts used, 2 on the side of SKT, 4-no lead. Crown has been predictably able to CS very comfortably in the mid lane. Used to Ragnarok as well, so there is a moment here, a brief moment where Samsung have a bit more breathing room about their pathing options and pushing options. I believe that is Bilgewater on the Varus. Hard to say on our small screens. It is.
Yes, it is.
So it's not the Essence Reaver Varus that we were seeing yesterday. Sticking with the Blade of the Ruin King as ruler.
Yep, like we saw from Jewel, game 2 of our first series. Jewel is hoping that he has a bit of a better game here, but big Piltover Peacemaker comes through, but that hail of arrows down on the bank takes him considerably low, so he's going to kite back there, keep himself as safe as humanly possible.
If you want up to the ultimate, just for a bit of health onto Core JJ, but if you're wondering, it's up, I hold the thought.
Juve, Tony's just going to say, screw it, I'll go right in underneath the turret. Skarl goes out.
Q misses.
Yeah, it's the hit in. Huni goes low. Juve holds on to his flash and forces out Huni's.
And we'll force out a teleport probably as well. It's going to back away now. Ambition thinking about a turret dive. His Bang has stayed pretty greedily, you'd have to say.
Yeah, could have Crown down there in a moment's
They
notice
want
with
to
that Weaver's
catch
Wall.
Crown if he goes for the Weaver's Wall, so smart from SKT.
Yeah, just keeping him cut off here, making sure that he can't rotate down there, but now with the recalls coming through from Wolf and everybody on the side of Samsung, just go ahead and kite back. Faker playing forward again, does have the Shockwave available if he wants to use it, hasn't tossed it yet.
I really like those little game sense moments where you see the Elise going around bot and your first reaction as SKT is to camp the brush and be ready for the inevitable Weaver's Wall. It's that like kind of next levels that we talk about where certain things are predictable or telegraphed and you can take advantage of those things, but Crown was not buying the bait.
Not sure if it was, you know, a matter of kind of figuring out what SKT wanted to do or if it just didn't see that window for the Weaver's Wall, but either way it does stay safe.
Let me tell you a story, Achilles. If it looks too good to be true against SK Telecom, it's definitely too good to be true. As Ambition showing us very early Rift Herald priority. Maybe this will be the game finally where we see a big advantage from a Rift Herald. So far we've had KT not get a turret with it because Pawn got caught by an Ash Arrow and Fizz. Let's not talk about that anymore. And in the previous series we saw one turret in kind of a 3v3 situation in the bot lane. So this will be the third Rift Herald take in LCK Summer history.
The question is, where are they going to direct this Rift Herald? Where do they summon her to?
I'm actually a big fan of top laners taking it, so that if the enemy top laner leaves, they can just solo down 2 turrets. So it going on to a jungler to me is not as useful. You know, you're more likely to be spotted out with your rotations in that regard, but we'll wait and see. The buff does have that fixed duration, so I think it's 3.5 to 4 minutes. It has to be used, so look at it pre-18 minutes. Pre-17, pre-18 minutes, yeah.
Now Crown, though, going to be posturing forward here onto Faker. Over the wall comes Ambition. Doesn't land the Cocoon, but it doesn't matter. The damage is there. They take him down for first blood.
Yeah, Echo Pop just killed him straight up, so he's dead. First blood onto Faker, something that happened quite a lot at MSI, you'll remember. And oh, we see it summoned.
All right, they're going to go ahead, pop this out here in the mid lane. The minion's already been cleared out, so Orfeon's going to get a nice charge in onto this turret, which has already taken a lot of damage.
Why did Huni go bot lane? I think Huni was supposed to go mid lane.
Oh, did he? Must have misclicked.
He teleported bot lane. That's not where you're supposed to teleport.
Yeah, he used Stand United and must have misclicked perhaps. It didn't use it. I mean, Bang did go low, so I guess he didn't react in time.
Yeah, I guess that was off screen, so scratch what we said, but was needed in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, if he had just channeled that in onto Faker,
we'll get a replay on it. If it was just they were losing pressure on bot, then it's a double win for Samsung.
I mean, look at this.
But if they were forced out of bot lane, the reaction came in. That part is fine. That's understandable. But because they also lost pressure in mid, they just lost 2.8 turrets basically in an instant.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them getting ready to be scooped up. This tier 2 in the mid lane top turret is also very weakened.
And this is why I think this Rift Herald is such a powerful objective, because in the blink of an eye, one pick led to almost 2 turrets in the mid lane down at 15 minutes. Insanity when it comes to speed. And because they were losing trades in the bot lane at the same time, SKT almost just straight up lost the mid game in an instant.
Yeah. We'll be able to push in here and try to go for this red buff takeaway. Spiderling not quite going to get it. Peanut's able to get the swipe in time. Pops over the wall with the blast cone, keeping himself safe. So actually not having that replay come through, it would seem. But yeah, Bang going low, I guess, drew the attention of Huni more so than Faker. But they really suffer for that exchange.
We'll just have to give Huni the benefit of the doubt. I thought it was a summon spell teleport, so if it was an ultimate, I
thought it was just a misclick on the Stand United, but then looking at Bang's HP bar.
Yeah, more understandable that it was a defense, but it was one of those scenarios where you just really didn't have that ladder. Speaking of scenarios.
Weaver's wall coming through, trying to cut them off.
Bang,
they do
flash.
lock down Bang. Yeah, just be able to flash over. So we'll go ahead, just exchange ultimate for flash. Still going to be a nice trade here for Samsung. Makes SKT more susceptible to getting jumped on underneath the turret, which is still very low.
They haven't been able to creep in a lane ward to allow the charge to come through from behind, but they're still going to get the turret. Really nice objective game being played by Samsung, and all these advantages were largely from that very early take on the Rift Herald.
Yeah, Faker, he'll get a little bit of damage down onto this mid-tier 1, but it's going to be the first Dragon of the game, also going over to Samsung, who are playing so very objectively minded in this first game of the series.
Very defensive pathing you'll see from Crown, fully respecting that Peanut might be there, taking an extra 30% on the turret or so.
Well, he would have been correct, but Wolf would have been there to back him up even further. So definitely would have been a bad time for Crown.
Viewers haven't looked at the patch notes. The first attack after the charge up from the Rift Herald does 25% of his maximum HP plus 150 damage. So in reality, it chunks for about 30% of the turret instantly. And also, kind of the interesting thing that I think a lot of people are missing is that everyone knows that if you have no minions, there is extra reinforcements on a turret. You know, you do much less damage to a turret. The Rift Herald by itself counts as a minion wave, so you actually still do full damage with your auto attacks. So in that scenario where Orianna was dead, you know, they just did the maximum damage possible to 2 mid lane turrets, and if they had gotten both of them, where was Orianna going to be able to farm? Because her nearest turret, which is largely where Orianna plays, would have been the inhibitor turret, and even now, they're losing across the map. They lost in bottom lane, they lost the Drake, now they lose another outer turret. That's a casual 4,300 gold lead on SK Telecom T1 at 17 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost ready to stretch even further if they could just get pressure onto that tier 2. A couple more shots to finish that one off, but instead, it's going to be allocating people differently across the map. Right now, the majority of Samsung sitting up inside of this topside jungle of SKTs, looking for somebody to walk in on their lonesome, but SKT not going to be playing around that side. They know that they have no control over it.
There's no advantages for them in that particular sector of the map.
Banshee's Veil Rush here for Crown.
Defensive itemization, but if he's going to be playing in side lanes and potentially picked, you can understand it. Weaver's Wall.
Yeah, it does get tossed out here.
But that's just to stop them from coming into the turret. They just want to get this second in a turret, and like I said, suddenly, where's Orianna going to path to get some safe farming done?
Yeah, this is a really interesting spot for SKT to be in. Not that they, arguably haven't been in since they faced Samsung last. Well, a couple losses there in MSI, for sure, but this is pretty crushing.
For LCK play especially, and this is Samsung downplaying themselves and then clearly coming in with a plan. Cuvée on the Kled, the largely new factor that's gotten them lane pressure on Huni, who had lane pressure in basically every game of MSI. And look, SKT were dealt a really rough hand when it came to having to play so quickly after their championship win. By far the shortest amount of downtime in any region was SK Telecom after MSI, but you also have to commend Samsung, who have played a smart, controlled game in the first 19 minutes.
Oh, for sure. It's been spectacular by them. There's going to be a really deep TP into the backside here from Cube, but already Faker getting locked down. So much CC. Still has not died yet. The Wild Growth doing wonders to keep him alive, but now it's going to be Cube joining in the fight with the charge. Dives straight into the back line onto Wolf. Has that bear trap on a rope, pulls him back in and takes him out. But so far, it's just the 1-0 for Samsung, despite the massive investment.
And there's just so many different ways Samsung can engage because Orianna has nowhere to be safely. Nice flash cocoon from Elise. No damage to back it up, but they still get what they want, which is even more map pressure. Baron spawns in 10 seconds, and SKT will have to fight tooth and nail just to get vision around the Baron because Samsung own the red side jungle and the mid lane vision in this game.
Yeah, it's lit up like a Christmas tree right now for Samsung, so anybody walking into that jungle is going to be spotted out by them. And they just maintain complete control over the map. Almost 6,000 gold in the lead at the moment, 20 minutes in. Such a strong showing from this team, especially after the interview from Crown.
Well, I mean, famously, Koreans in interviews have always been a bit under the microscope, whether they tell you the truth or not. And Samsung definitely have some things to be commended for. And also the surprise just of having Ambition in the lineup. You know, Ambition, after being a tertiary figure in spring season, after getting married very recently, I don't think many would have expected him to be playing the first game of the season. And while he hasn't done too much of note, his pathing has been good, his vision in the bot side when they controlled, getting the double wards down. It hasn't been a carry performance like we may have expected from Haru, but even just his rating of the Rift Herald seems to be different to other junglers because he was getting there to solo it down 13 minutes into the game, and the Rift Herald has been the thing that separated the two teams by the biggest margin.
Seeing how Samsung want to maintain this control over the map over this game so far. It's been a relatively bloodless game, just the 2 kills coming through here for Samsung so far. But, I mean, if they keep this up right now, they're on pace for a perfect game.
Those are risky words to say against SK Telecom T1.
I said if they keep this up.
I think the closest we saw was only getting 2 kills against the Afrika Freaks in summer last year. That was like the closest to SKT being perfect game. They have never been perfect game as an organization.
I do not expect it by any means.
I mean, 2 kills and no other objectives is certainly pretty close to a perfect game. But it would be a big surprise, let's say. Sort of thing you just don't talk about, and then when it comes, you shout about as loudly as possible. You tweet about it, you get 500 retweets. Feels good, man.
I'll go ahead and draft mine now, just in case.
Let's get it in there. Just drop.
As soon as that Nexus crumbles, I'll be ready to go. Peanut having to pop the Ragnarok here. Wolf's there to back him up. Just gonna go ahead, give him that whimsy, make sure he can sprint out safely.
And this is the battle. Just put down the aggressive vision that Core JJ has always been famous for as a support. It was the big difference between him and Wraith. When he first came into the team at the tail end of summer, his vision control, it's one of those get wards everywhere. Samsung in general, it looks like they overward, but they have one mind. Get a single pick and then take the Baron is what they're going for, and that's why you see so much used. And sure, they don't get the red buff, but they know that the smite charge is down. They're taking Drake at the same time. Samsung basically getting every advantage on the Rift. Although SKT are fighting this
Drake's
time.
going low. That's going to be the taunt connecting in onto Ambition, locking him up. That's going to be the Dragon going over to Peanut. So bye-bye, perfect game. Goes up, must come down, and Ambition gets locked up. First kill on the board for SKT.
It didn't look like SKT were going to commit that hard, but because they knew so many members of Samsung were in the top side, they made the right call, got something back. It's only 5,000 gold. You never ice the game against SKT till the Nexus is exploding. And SKT do have a very strong 5v5 teamfight comp, and Samsung needs some snowball to make the Kled and Talia 1-3-1 work. They are categorically weaker in a 5v5 if it goes late game.
Still in a pretty good spot, but that is definitely going to slow them down a bit. The Mountain Drake going over to SKT. Going to be infinitely more useful than that Cloud Drake, especially when it comes down to those Barons.
Going very single target. Going for the rapid fire cannon second. They get a long range crit and potentially end a fight before it starts, but the Hurricane interaction isn't there on 7-10 just yet, so Hurricane's still expected to be the pick. Okay, nerfs come through on the next patch, 7-11. And yes, that is funny to say, in case the viewers are wondering.
Crown just trying to harass out as much as possible, but has to respect the poke that SKT can offer straight back at him. Still just cheating around from above them at the moment. Meanwhile, Juve and Huni just keep on duking it out.
See, the duels aren't necessarily going as one-sidedly to declare as you might expect at these item values. Shen, one of the few tanks that can actually stand up to a Black Cleaver Titanic Hydra Kled, and Black Cleaver was nerfed between the MSI patch and today.
Dodge field helps him out quite a bit.
Yep. He's taking less damage when he's taking damage. He's got a dodge field, so Shen is about as well equipped as any tank to deal with the Kled.
Going to be a blind check here. Pop the Banshee's Veil on Faker. Seismic Shove does come through, however, and he's got to flash away. Respect being shown here for Crown. Keeps himself alive. Now flashless on that Orianna.
They were happy to give up the Banshee Veil. That was their hope when it came to putting down Vision. They valued the Banshee Veil lower than a Olaf Ultimate, which makes sense, as a shorter cooldown, but giving away the flash is definitely not what SKT wanted.
The hits, though. They're on the core JJ.
And now both face check tools are down.
Yeah.
They don't have a blue trinket available yet, so this is where we look for Samsung to actually make some moves. They spent so much time prepping Vision around the red side jungle. This is where they need to make that pick.
Kun not quite going to connect there.
Going
That's
hard.
going to be the grasping roots here for JJ, and Crown just comes up with the kill, almost has the double as they finish off Peanut. Now no smite available for SKT. That should be Baron for Samsung.
But it was so academic from Samsung, understanding that Faker's Banshee Veil down, had to flash away. The Ragnarok down as well. Someone needs to face check. That person was Peanut. Peanut is dead. SKT going to give up the Baron. Textbook Baron play from Samsung. So many teams worldwide struggle with Baron control, but they knew where they were strong. They knew how to play it out, and really good to see from Samsung.
Yeah, beautifully executed. Now Baron in their pocket. Already have 4 turrets taken off the map. Going to be looking to add many more to that count, as they'll be seeking those final inner turrets in the top and bottom side of the map.
We'll see where they go with the regroup. SKT, we're not going to make any sort of heroic engages 3v5 with their smite down. And Lulu dead as well.
Pilt over Peacemaker still over the wall. Come on.
Well, it would have been blind because they had no spot vision left and no warding trinkets up. We've seen some pretty strange things when it comes to Baron steals. Thresh by Max.
We had 2 in one game earlier today. Oh, Huni. Yeah.
That's a no magic resist Shen, to be clear.
Yeah, plus the Leandri is just ripping through whatever HP he has accrued for himself, so goes down to about 30% there from Crown.
And one Samsung fan's a big fan of Leandri's, apparently.
But, I mean, crucially, that's going to be the flash down from Huni, so no flash taunt's going to be coming through from him for 5 minutes.
This is a build that was innovated by Crown. He was the first person to go for the double magic penetration, the early haunting guys and Sorcerer's Shoes into Leandri's. Does mean that those initial salvos of the Q do so much base damage, and magic resist is only really present on Peanut and Faker.
Good check there of the brush by Crown. Throws at the threat volley, spots Peanut, forces him back. Well, Cuve just trying to get as much ground gained as possible on this bottom side of the map. Still is really yet to get on top of that tower. So plenty of work to be done. But this is a dangerous game here for Bang.
The 1-3-1 is pretty oppressive for them to deal with, but the control ward sticking.
Oh, Chain of Corruption coming through as Ruler joins in the bottom side of the map. Has that Blade of the Rim King with the proc. They take him down. And all that is lost is Snarl for Cuve.
And you forget that, of course, 5 stacks of Black Cleaver means that Varus is going to very quickly kill the Shen with the armor reduction. They continue to push. Cuve doesn't quite have his ult back up.
Great
Weaver's wall to
coming
keep him
through.
away.
Yeah, they're just going to go ahead and try to clear this out. Faker can't get in range to throw out the dissonance to clear out the minions. They'll work this down, nearly get the kill on the turret, but can't quite finish it off. How far do they want to push this one? Faker just have the Ghost available. Shockwave doesn't connect, so that should be the end of it.
MSI Faker would have hit that one. Somehow the hitbox gotten smaller since MSI. Feels bad.
The Ninja nerf.
But a lot of damage onto that turret already. They'll have to prep it later. Ambition is going to stay top lane, and they are still going to take a turret regardless. So good measured play from Samsung Galaxy, and all SKT can really do is watch on and wait for Huni to respawn.
Yep, that's 2 turrets gained already here off this Baron buff. So, Samsung stretching past a 10,000 gold lead down, looking for the inhibitor turrets. 3:30 minutes. Second tower almost going down. Crown Ambition. How long can they stick around? Seismic Shove comes through on Huni. Has to Shadow Dash away. The turret goes down.
Bot
this
lane.
is going to open up yet another one falling. Juve and Ruler just managed to stick around, looking for 2 inhibitors taken.
Not able to finish off the inhibitor, but remounted finally is QV. Bang,
Bang
caught by the
goes
decisive
low.
shove.
Kuhn comes forward, finds Huni, threaded volley, ripping through him yet again. Flash forward, that's going to be the Q. Out from Ambition, comes up with the execution. Now Peanut going forward, looking for a kill on the ground, flashes away, ace in the hole there. Ambition not body blocking. Was worried about himself trying to stay alive, but the rest of the team is joined in. Ruler rotates up with a help core. JJ comes up with a double kill for the Zyra. Second inhib going to go down. That's 40 seconds on Peanut. Wolf Dead's just banging Faker. Do they just go for the finish right here? It's 29.5 minutes in.
I think they're going to Achilles. They're trying to finish the game, teleport into a minion as well.
Keeping them alive as long as they possibly can here as Juve rejoins the fray. First turret getting ready to fall, and now the minions pushing in from the bottom side of the map. Super Creeps getting ready to come in, powered by
Faker.
Baron. Juve dashing forward, trying to get on top of Faker. Just so much damage with the cleave coming out. Now going back in, the root landing in on the Bang, but they're not worried about the kills. They just want the finish right here. Nexus now exposed, 30 minutes in. Wolf rejoining. Can they do anything to turn this one around? Shockwave comes out, but it's too little too late. The damage is done. Samsung, 30-minute victory over SKT.
And what about these Korean interviews? Because Crown and Samsung clearly have been working on some of their shortcomings that were on full display against KT Rolls to end the semi-final last season. Having QV, who gets the pat on the back from his coach, onto the Kled meant a lot. Lane pressure on Huni was something few top laners were able to do. Back at MSI, definitely present in this game, and one of the most picture-perfect Baron setups was rewarded with Baron. And also, let's mention, the best use of the Rift Herald that we've seen so far.
Yep.
So it feels like Samsung have the early understanding of the new patch, and understandably for SKT, only really a week removed from returning to Korea, like me, early Wednesday last week, they still have some things to work on. SK Telecom will get there by the end of the season. It feels harsh to really judge them too much on being a step behind with their relative lack of ability to prepare. But credit Samsung, they looked good, and they very convincingly took down SKT.
Yeah, they look damn good there in game number 1, but can they do it again? Can they have the back-to-back 2-0s over SKT?
History says no, but they are now on a 3-game winning streak against SKT, and that has to mean something.
Yeah. All right. Well, the team's got to be feeling pretty good about that one. The coaches, especially there, Trace. We'll see what he can put together as we swap over to the red side there for Samsung after the break. But a very fiery start here for Samsung. SKT gonna have to put their heads together. Coma already running through the game, getting prepared for the next one. We'll see if they can fire back, take us to another 3-game set, or if this is gonna be a 2-0 shutout for Samsung. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few.